असं काय मंडळी बरं आहे का? Do you remember what we have learned earlier about the excretion in different animals? I hope you remember that for planaria, that is the platyhelminthes, there are flame cells. For Annelida, earthworm group, what are there? The coil tubes, what are they called as? Nephridia. And what can you say about the insects and cockroach? Malpighian tubules. And of course, convertebrates, kidneys. So, right from fishes to mammals, the excretory organs are kidneys. And let us now learn about the kidneys and other organs like ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra for humans. So, today's session is the continuation of the earlier session of the excretion in different animals. We are now talking of the human excretory system. I think we have gone through your books, and some of you have learnt it in 8th, some of you have learnt it in 9th, and so on. That doesn't matter. I think you will be receiving along with today's explanation a nice video of goat kidneys and certain other things, very interesting videos. And watching those videos, which are kind of course, we have done the videos here, and that kind of demonstration plus this kind of information, I think will be more than enough for you to begin with the understanding of the human excretory system. You are already quite aware of the human excretory system. You are aware of the kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder, and the urethra. I think we will see all those things on the screen. So the human excretory system, this is something which almost each one of you know. I'm sure right from 5th standard, I suppose. Everybody is aware of the kidneys. And kidneys are located, I think here, right here. And they are more on the dorsal side. And the kidneys appear brownish reddish. I think in the demonstration video, you will find what is the appearance, morphological appearance, the anatomical appearance of the kidney of the goat. That typically being seed shaped, and it's not very big, you know, it may be just about say 10 centimeters here and there, lengthwise and so on. For humans, I am saying. Kidney is a very special organ, and it is meant for formation of the urine. Urine is formed in the kidneys, that we know very well. And for that to be possible, kidneys must get a good supply of blood, because I think we are all aware that urine is produced from blood. There is a nice blood supply. Here is the blood vessel. This is dorsal aorta. And dorsal aorta is something which is starting from the left ventricle of the heart, and then it is passing between the two kidneys, and then it is supplying a blood vessel known as renal artery. Renal artery goes into the kidney. It carries the oxygenated blood, because anyway kidneys will require oxygenated blood. But the purpose of the blood passing through the renal artery is double. Supplying oxygen, no doubt, and also the blood that is passing into the kidney has more excretory waste like urea. Now you expect that the blood which is going here inside, the blood vessel will break into thousands and thousands of very fine capillaries, and the blood will be then in contact with nephrons. I am using the word nephrons, which is also called as uriniferous tubule. Nephron are uriniferous tubules. They are coil tubes, long coil tubes. And the blood supply to the nephron will make possible urine formation. How? We will consider it after some time. So millions of such coil tubes are inside, and the urine is produced. When the blood gets filtered and processed, the remaining blood has to go back, and the blood is collected by what is called as renal vein. Renal artery starts from dorsal aorta, enters into kidney, blood gets filtered, and the filtered blood is collected by smaller and smaller branches. You can call them as tributaries, and they all come together to form a renal vein. And this is a renal vein, and the two renal veins join together, and already the blood is being collected from the hind limbs, and that is being collected by what is called as inferior vena cava. So from the hind limbs, blood is coming through the inferior vena cava, and when the inferior vena cava is passing between the two kidneys, the renal veins join it, and that's how the blood is collected by the inferior vena cava. And the inferior vena cava, where does it join? Remember, it joins the right atrium. So that's the blood supply. Blood supply is very important, because if kidneys are supposed to form urine, and if the urine is supposed to be formed from blood, I think it's very important to understand the blood supply. Details of the internal structure of the kidney we are going to talk. We are going to talk about cortex and medulla and pelvis after some time. Whatever urine is being produced here, it flows through tubes, and those tubes are very well known to you. They are called as ureters. And the ureters will be then joining to a bag-like structure, urinary bladder. So urine is produced here, it flows through the ureters, and temporarily it gets collected in the urinary bladder, and from urinary bladder there is urethra. Actually it's a tube. It has not been clearly shown here, but that's a tube, urethra. Urethra is usually longer in males, because in the males the urethra passes through penis. In the females the urethra is shorter. Don't get confused between the ureter and urethra. Ureter, the tubes which bring urine from bladder, urine from kidney to bladder. And what is urethra? Urethra is a tube starting from bladder and taking the urine out, away to the outside. So this is the general understanding. I think then we'll consider the internal structure of the kidney. Here is the internal structure of the kidney. Again, I think many of you are aware of the parts, a kidney section. Again, the demo video will show you some of those details. This is the cortex, and this is the medulla. Medulla is thrown into conical structures known as pyramids. They are called as medullary pyramids. So medullary pyramids, they make the medulla, and the outer narrower part, that makes the cortex. And actually these lines which you are observing, they are symbolic presentations of the nephrons. Nephrons are what? The units of structure of the kidney where urine is being formed, and we are going to study the nephrons little later on. So that is the general organization, cortex and medulla, and medulla is thrown into pyramids. Between the pyramids, the cortical tissue seems to be entering, and this cortical tissue that enters into the spaces between pyramids is called as renal column. You don't need to understand everything, but because it is in the diagram, I am just trying to tell you. Renal capsule is what? It's only the covering. You know, every organ is having a cover, and here the cover is called as renal capsule. So just imagine there is a peripheral cortex and inner medulla. That's quite enough. All, how many? At least 1 million nephrons are there. There will be at least 1 million nephrons in each kidney, and every nephron is very minute, very delicate tube, which you know, and we are going to study that. All those nephrons in a complicated draining system opens into a space, and that space is called as renal pelvis. So all the urine is formed, is collected into the renal pelvis. From renal pelvis begins the ureter. So this is the general organization of the section of the kidney. I get to show you now the picture of a nephron or uriniferous tubule. Structure of a nephron. I think we are all generally aware, but still then have a quick look. 1 million, that is 10 lakh such tubes are present in one kidney, and then similar at least 10 lakh, that is 1 million in the second kidney, and they are very minute, very delicate tubes. Well, these nephrons are present not only in human kidney, but they are present in all vertebrates. It is a long tube, and because it is long, it is coiled. Why it should be long? Basically, why it should be long? It is long because it needs more surface area. Then you may ask the question, why more surface area is required? I will try to help you to answer this question a little later. But I am trying to say that it's a long tube, and it is long because the more the length of the tube, more surface area available. And we will now try to find out what is the need of more surface area. Well, blood supply is not shown here, but the blood supply is there. I think you are all aware that this is called as glomerulus, and we'll see a better picture of the glomerulus. Renal artery supplies blood to the kidney, and from renal artery small branches, fine branches arise, and then the blood flows through it, and that bunch of capillaries which is formed, it is called as glomerulus. I think in your books these terms are there. Maybe that when this was being said to you in the school days, either you liked or disliked, or you were not interested, or it was not being told to you in the proper way. Now it is there. Now you are taking biology as your career. Now you can't escape. You have to know glomerulus. What is that? It's a bunch of capillaries. Around that glomerulus there is a cup-like portion, and that's called as Bowman's capsule. I think in your books this term is there. कुठला बोर्ड त्याचा नाही, कुठल्या तरी बोर्डमध्ये आहे. आता तुम्हाला काय आहे की सगळे तुम्ही वेगळ्या बोर्डचे विद्यार्थी एकत्र येता 11th मध्ये. आम्हाला त्याचा अंदाज असतो, त्यामुळे ते थोडंसं तुम्हाला इकडे तिकडे होईल. आम्हाला शिकवलं नाही, आमच्या बोर्डला नव्हतं, अशा स्वभावी चालणार नाही. आत्तापासून 2च वर्षांतर तुम्ही मेडिकलच्या पहिल्या वर्षाला असणार आहात, खरं की नाही? जायचं आहे ना, मग आता हे शिकलं पाहिजे, आपण सगळे कॉमन लेवलला आलं पाहिजे. बघा, ग्लोमेरुलस सराउंडेड बाय कप लाइक पोर्शन नोन एज Bowman's capsule. Do you know what is commonly that is being termed glomerulus plus Bowman's capsule? It is being called as Malpighian body. Malpighi was a great European scientist. तिकडे आपण Malpighian tubules cockroach insects मध्ये बघतो, तिथे Malpighian corp असेल. Okay. Then this is a tubule, proximal convoluted tubule. This is loop of Henle. This is distal convoluted tubule, and this is collecting tract. एवढ्या खूप details नाही गेलं तरी चालणार आहे. The thing is, it is long tube. I just want to make a point here. If by chance, if you remember the nephridia, which are the organs of excretion in annelida, they are also very long tubes. So, when it is long, it has to be coiled. Samja kai will. If it is long and not coiled, what will happen? Naturally, if you make it straight, it will be very long. And to accommodate it in the kidneys will have to be very big, because if you want this tube to be straight, then the width of the kidney will be so much that the size of the kidney will be very big, which is not possible. See, whenever, that's one common principle in understanding life science. Whenever you want more surface area, there is more length, and whenever there is more length, there is coiling. I'll just give you one more example of this kind of a situation. Our own intestines. Our own intestines are long, very long, and therefore they are coiled. So all our intestines are coiled. Same reason. So anything that is long is coiled. That's how nature saves space. So this is a nephron. This is the structure of the nephron. I can help you with a little more interesting drawings of the nephron. I know you don't need all these details, but if you have already learned nephrons in schools, well, as you go to higher levels of studies, 11th and 12th is a bridge between 8, 9, 10 biology and medical biology. म्हणजे तुम्ही मेडिकल जाणार असं तुम्ही म्हणता म्हणून, मी म्हणत नाही तुम्ही जा म्हणून, पण जायचं असेल तर मग मेडिकल बायोलॉजी तुम्हाला कळलं पाहिजे. एनिवे, हे थोडंसं थिन आहे, त्यामुळे ते आता डिस्टर्ब होत आहे. Okay, I'll show you a glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule. Here you can see this. This is the bunch of capillaries. See, blood is entering the arterial blood, then it is flowing through these bunch of capillaries, then it is coming out, and this is glomerulus where filtration will take place. This is glomerulus and this is Bowman's capsule. The two together will be known as Malpighian body. Okay, and this is the filtration unit. Every nephron begins with this. I think I'll now go for the board work. Let's now revise the internal structure of the kidney by way of labeling this diagram. This is a longitudinal section of the kidney. Can you help me to label these parts? What do you expect me to write here? Imagine. You are right. This is renal artery. See, the word renal. Anything related to kidney is renal. Anything related to heart is cardiac. Anything related to the liver is hepatic. Hepatic refers to liver. Renal refers to kidney. And cardiac refers to heart. So renal artery, and this is renal vein. Blood is entering through the renal artery. It is going to every nephron. If there is 1 million nephron, there will be 1 million branches of the renal artery. And blood is getting filtered in the Malpighian body. And then the blood is coming back from kidney through renal vein. This is ureter, of course, because all these are nephrons. These yellow things are nephrons. I can label this additional thing as a nephron. This one is nephron. One nephron is shown here. And just now we have seen the details of the nephron, and we can go for the details, more details of the nephron a little later. Like that, there are 1 million such tubes. Every nephron will be having the beginning part as Malpighian corpuscle, and this is a long tube. All these Malpighian corpuscles, what do you mean by Malpighian corpuscle? The glomerulus and the surrounding Bowman's capsule. All those things are present in the cortex. So all this part is cortex. What is cortex? The outer layer. It is a peripheral part in which the Malpighian corpuscles are there. And this inner part is medulla. And medulla is in the form of pyramids. So cortex and medulla. These are the two minimum things that you will remember. The peripheral part is cortex and inner part is medulla. All the urine which is being produced by those 1 million plus nephrons gets collected in the cavity, and that cavity is being called as the renal pelvis. And from renal pelvis, the material will enter into ureter, and from ureter where it will go? To the urinary bladder. So from ureter to urinary bladder, and from urinary bladder to urethra. So kidneys produce urine, which enters into ureters. Ureters will allow it to go to urinary bladder and to be stored there. In the urinary bladder, how much of time urine can be stored? How much of, what is the total volume? I think half a liter is also too much. Maybe 200, 300 ml is okay. And then you need to you feel like micturition. Micturition is a winding of urine. Urination feeling is there, and that is how the bladder works. But one thing, children, who are younger than 2 years, they don't have a control, and so that's why a very funny situation. They just cannot report because they don't have control on the evacuation, and so whenever you see a small child urinating, don't make fun, because this small child, yes, they don't have control of the bladder, but they do feel insulted. That's very important. This is a 5 point I'm telling. And of course, toilet training begins. But even after 2 years, automatically also, they find the right place to urinate. So urinary bladder, and from urinary bladder go into urethra. Urethra is a longer tube in the case of the males because it passes through penis, and in the females urethra is short. I think with this we can go into some more details of the nephron. So here we are going to revise the structure of a nephron, which is also being called as urine forming tubule. So uriniferous, that means urine forming tubule. Once again, I am repeating to say that 1 million or more than that nephrons are present in each kidney, and they are very delicate. People have studied nephrons. I think that that the kidney has such structures is known for more than 150 years. You can imagine. There was really tough time. Microscopes were available, sectioning was available, but even then I think the available facilities for science learning were less. Even then, great discoveries of the histology have been done, and now of course we know far better. But then, even then, if you think of 150 years back, 200 years back, even electricity was a problem, and then people have worked. So science learning doesn't require facilities, it requires passion. Science learning doesn't require classes and online and offline teaching. There have been many great researchers who did not have any formal training. It requires originality of thought. It requires a very, very curious mind. That's science. Yes, we are going to conduct one session on what science is. I think that was promised to you earlier. Because as the human biology, human systems will get over, we will have a change, and before we go for plants, we will have a session on what is science. So these things have been discovered. So once again, this is the Malpighian corpuscle. So I think you will help me to label. You tell me now what this is. Yeah, this is glomerulus. तुमचे काही काहींचे जे सेमी इंग्लिशचे असतात त्यांना वाटतं की हे तर आपण ऐकलंय पण ते आपल्याला इतकं स्मूथली येत नाही. मी पूर्णपणे मराठी मीडियमचा विद्यार्थी होतो. जुन्या त्या दिवसांमध्ये त्या 11वी पर्यंतच होतं आणि पूर्ण मराठी होतं. कॉलेजला गेलो तेव्हा इंग्लिश अचानक सुरू झालं. काही फरक पडला नाही, येऊन जातो. सो डोंट वरी. तुम्ही असं म्हणू नका की आम्हाला सेमी इंग्लिश आहे तर आम्हाला कसं आहे, काही फरक पडत नाही. सो डोंट वरी अबाउट वॉट एव्हर medium you are learning from. One thing, science does not require any particular medium. India is probably one of the very few countries. India is probably one of the very few countries where, unfortunately, science has to be learnt through a foreign language, because English is otherwise also a foreign language. If you think of Germany, they learn all science through German language. If you think of Russia, they learn all their science through Russian, and Japanese, of course, and Chinese, of course, they will learn through Japanese and their other languages. Okay, so don't worry about the medium. Whatever medium, even if you are Marathi medium originally like me, it doesn't matter. If you are semi-English or semi-Marathi, yes, semi-English is semi-Marathi, or semi-Gujarati, it doesn't matter. And if you are from English medium, well, it's okay, nothing very great. Sorry, I mean to say, science requires thinking and not a very serious concern of the medium. But then you should know the terms like glomerulus. You should know one more term, and this is Bowman's. Yeah, these are all histologists. Bowman's capsule. Glomerulus is not a scientist name. Glomerulus is a bunch of capillary. Here only one loop is shown. Actually, there are 50-60 such loops. This is a simplified picture. There are many capillaries. That's called as glomerulus plus Bowman's capsule. And if I put these two together, it becomes what is called as Malpighian body. Bowman is a histologist. Malpighi is a histologist. This is the thing. So this much. So every nephron begins with this structure known as the Malpighian body. Here what will happen will be filtration. The blood will be getting filtered here. Okay, let us now try to write the names. From here a long tube begins, and the part that is immediately after the Malpighian body, that part of the tubule is coiled and usually it is called as proximal convoluted tubule. Proximal convoluted tubule, abbreviated as PCT. Proximal convoluted tubule. Convoluted means coil. Then there is a loop-like structure known as loop of Henle. Again, Henle is a histologist. सगळे नावं दुसऱ्या युरोपियन नावच काय का भारतीय नाव काय येत नाही विचार करायला पाहिजे. आयलेट्स ऑफ लँगरहॅन्स, एल कॅपिटल, प्रॉपर नाव, सगळं संशोधन तिकडे झालं. आपण तेव्हाही केलं नाही आणि आजही नीट करत नाही. आपण फक्त सायन्स काय शिकतो, परीक्षा द्यायची, मेडिकलला द्यायचं, एवढ्यासाठी सायन्स आहे असं नाही आहे. आपली सगळं परीक्षेसाठी करायचं, दुसऱ्यांनी सायन्स निर्माण करायचं, आपण ते वाचायचं, पाठ करायचं आणि परीक्षा द्यायच्या, ही काही पद्धत बरोबर नाही आहे. म्हणून विचार करायला शिकलं पाहिजे आणि त्यासाठी फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री, बायोलॉजीचा अभ्यास त्या दृष्टीने केला पाहिजे. फक्त परीक्षेला बसायचं म्हणून केलेला अभ्यास तसाही काही उपयोगी पडणार नाही. मेडिकल ॲडमिशन त्यामुळे कदाचित मिळेल पण पुढे काहीच होणार नाही आणि मूळची जी काही आपल्याला जी चालना मिळाली पाहिजे ती मिळणार नाही. सो इट इज व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट टू स्टडी out of curiosity and not for exams. So I hope you are listening and your parents are also listening. So proximal convoluted tubule is PCT, this is loop of Henle, and now this is distal convoluted tubule. Because proximal is closer here and distal is away, so this is distal convoluted tubule. And it will be abbreviated as DCT. This is PCT, this is DCT, and this is loop of Henle. So between PCT and DCT there is loop of Henle, and this is called as collecting duct. Actually, this collecting duct will receive urine from many nephrons. To a collecting duct, many nephrons are attached. I have not shown it here, but there will be many nephrons coming from different sides attaching to the collecting duct. Now this collecting ducts, many collecting ducts will again join together and they will form what is called as a papillary duct and so on and so forth. So this is the structure of a nephron. I think now it's interesting for us to understand the steps of urine formation. But then some of you may be wondering why this dotted line has been shown. Can you think why this dotted line is there? You may be wondering why this dotted line. This part which is above here will be the cortex region, and all this part which is down below here is the medulla region. I mean to say, this part of the nephron, which part? The Malpighian body, the PCT, the DCT, all of these three, with some part of the collecting duct, they line cortex. And the loop of Henle and the major part of the collecting duct will line medulla. It means that the medulla will have more of the longer portions, and that's how the medulla will appear striated. You can see the medulla to be striated because these are the loops of Henle and the collecting duct components which are forming the pyramid-like structures here. Anyway, that's not a very important point. You should know that nephron is distributed partly in the cortex and partly in the medulla. That's about the nephron. And now I will say something about the steps of urine formation. Urine is formed in this particular nephron by 3 steps. One is ultrafiltration, second is selective reabsorption, and third is active secretion. Let us see where are these events taking place. The ultrafiltration, step number 1, will be taking place here. It is in the Malpighian body that ultrafiltration occurs. Why it is called as ultrafiltration? Well, the wall of the blood capillary here and wall of the Bowman's capsule here, they form a nice filtering membrane which has got extremely minute pores, ultra pores. Ultra means it's all very minute, very fine, and so blood will be filtered. So this is a filtration unit. So our kidney, each kidney has 1 million filtration units. It's all a physical process, filtration. Now the filtrate will be accumulating here, and that filtrate will start moving, and then here, and then the filtrate will move into the DCT, and so on. And while the filtrate is moving, second step occurs, and that is being called as selective reabsorption. Selective reabsorption will be taking place here, will also be taking place partly here, and I think the selective reabsorption continues even here. So this second step continues almost throughout the nephron, but PCT is a major site of selective reabsorption. Why it is being called as selective? See, many things are already there. The filtrate, because it's a filtrate, and filtrate will have lot of glucose, lot of amino acids, and many good electrolytes, minerals, and those all get absorbed. They are returned back, because when filtration occurs, most of the blood things get filtered. RBCs are not filtered, fine, because the pore size is not suitable, and the proteins in the blood, they are also not filtered, but rest of the blood gets filtered, and so the filtrate which is here is rich, and we don't want to waste the material, so there is reabsorption. Actually what happens is, this particular component, this now will form capillarization around, so the entire nephron will be surrounded by the blood capillaries again, and in these blood capillaries the good materials, useful materials are taken back, so that is called a selective reabsorption. Third is active secretion. Most of the active secretion will take place here in the DCT. So in the DCT, the distal reticule, selective reabsorption, a part of that, and third step, that is active secretion. It is possible that filtration process has been less effective, because there are certain things which you should have been filtered, but they are not filtered. So from blood capillaries, that again goes back to nephron. What is ultrafiltration? Blood to nephron. What is selective reabsorption? From nephron back to blood. Why? Because many things which are filtered, they were useful, and it is necessary that they return back. So in the second step, which mostly operates here and partly here, the good things from the filtrate are taken back into the blood. And then what is active secretion? Again from blood to nephron. What do you mean? It is possible that many things which should have been filtered, they are not filtered, and if they are not filtered, then the material can once again go from blood to nephron. So blood to nephron, there are two chances. Material from the blood can come into nephron, firstly here, and if certain things are not filtered, they will be filtered along the tubule. So active secretion, and selective reabsorption is nephron to blood. You find it is too much? Don't worry, it is only beginning. Foundation course is just beginning. But then your school syllabi of all boards, ICSE and CBSE and state board, all syllabi now have been upgraded. So it is expected that you know. So this is something you should know. Urine formation takes is done in the 3 steps, and in your later course, when we are going to have regular 11th and 12th, you will have all these details of these 3 steps to be learned. So what we have learned from this board is structure of a nephron and the steps of urine formation. Actually, I have written here 180 liters of filtrate is produced. Can you imagine? Daily in 24 hours, 180 liters of filtrate is produced in the two kidneys taken together. Can you imagine 180 liters of filtrate? You know how much blood three asta tha? Well, you should know that the same blood, we have some 5 liters of the blood, the same blood keeps on circulating through our kidneys. Again and again it comes. And filtrate keeps on being produced. And the total amount of filtrate is 180 liters. But 99% of the filtrate is reabsorbed. That's why the second step, selective reabsorption. Most of the filtrate is water. Water is reabsorbed, electrolytes are reabsorbed. Ultimately, 1 or 2 liters of urine is produced. Now, the amount of urine can differ. Sometimes it can be more, sometimes it can be less. But usually, this much of urine is produced. If you drink more water, more and more water, you will produce more urine. Okay. But there is a lot of reabsorption. So, kidneys are able to function this way. They are able to produce the urine by having ultrafiltration done and lot of selective reabsorption. So this is very interesting, unbelievable almost. So kidneys are functioning fantastically. अपना प्रत्येक organ body में like greatest है. The heart, the brain, the kidneys. I mean, they have been very specially designed and they are functioning in a very special way. To control all these things, you expect is the brain controlling the working of the kidney? Well, brain does control, but I think more control is possible through hormones. And many of you have heard of antidiuretic hormone, ADH. And this ADH hormone is produced from pituitary. We are going to learn endocrine system, after this excretory systems. Our next topic is the endocrine, that is the hormones. And I think that time I will talk more about ADH, but I can simply say here, this is antidiuretic hormone. What is diuresis? Diuresis is more urine. Diuresis is more urine. Then what is antidiuresis? Something to prevent more urine. So ADH hormone, which is produced from pituitary, acts on the nephron and it tries to have more water absorbed. So when ADH is there, more water will be absorbed and urine will be normal, that is concentrated. But suppose there is shortage of ADH, then what will happen? There are cases in which there is shortage of ADH. Pituitary does not produce enough ADH, then what will happen? The person will have more urine produced. More means 10 liters, 15 liters, oh my god. But then special medicines are available and those problems can be controlled. So I think there are many things. Kidneys, they have urine formation function, but they also have side by side osmoregulation function, about which now I am trying to say. So what is osmoregulation? If you straight away read this, maintaining balance of water and salt in the body. Many times we think that whenever there are kidneys, we think it's only urine formation. Let me tell you, it's not urine formation alone. It is also osmoregulation. Kidneys will decide if the person is consuming less water, then the urine found will be concentrated. If a person is drinking more water than required, then the urine will be dilute. The amount of water which is present in the body, in the different tissues, has some fixed proportion, and kidneys have the regulatory function. Kidneys will decide how much of water should be remaining in the body and how much of water should be lost. That is one thing. Second thing, it's not only water, it is minerals, that is electrolytes. When I say salt, don't think always sodium chloride. Sodium and chloride and many ions, particularly potassium ions. All these are to be regulated. When we learn blood, you know that in the plasma, a lot of electrolytes are there and the amounts of those electrolytes are very significant. The electrolytes should not be less, the electrolytes should not be more. They must have some fixed quantity to remain in the blood. This is the job of kidneys. So kidneys are forming urine, and while the urine is being formed side by side, this function of osmoregulation is also affected, because whatever should be the composition of the urine, it is decided by the kidneys, and the composition of urine will be how much of amount of water, how much of quantity of urea, how much of quantity of the sodium, potassium, chlorides, etc. So as per the healthy needs of the body, the kidneys are able to maintain correct proportion of the water and the salts, and that's very, very important. It means that blood depends on kidneys. So it means that blood depends on kidneys for maintaining proper values, proper quantities of the water and the salts. If kidneys cannot function properly, then there are issues. Particularly the salt balance will be lost, and then certain problems can begin. Okay, so osmoregulation is maintenance of balance of water and salt minerals in the body at proper equilibrium, and kidneys will do it. So urine formation and osmoregulation, both functions are side by side done. There is no separation. While urine is being formed, automatically osmoregulation is being done. There is a concept of pH. Are you aware? Hydrogen ion concentration. I think most of you know the term pH. And pH of the blood. What is the pH of the blood? pH of the blood is something more than 7, 7.35, 7.4. It means slightly alkaline. This is very important, and this pH will depend on the amounts of electrolytes, particularly H+. I think you are all aware, and if not, you learn this. So the pH of the blood must be maintained. So maintaining pH of the blood because of the osmoregulatory mechanism is possible. जास्त होतंय का? हळूहळू कळेल. Kidneys, आपल्याला माहिती आहे urine formation. Kidneys, they are involved in urine formation. While urine is being formed, they are side by side doing osmoregulation. And when the osmoregulation is done, side by side, the blood pH is maintained. Hydrogen ion concentration. That's all important. For good healthy life, you need to have all these things done side by side. So kidneys are fantastic organs. They will perform all these roles. I will now stop talking about the kidneys and the nephrons. I will say something about the role of the skin, liver and lungs. I think we will have some of the slides there. You can see something about skin. About liver, I will simply say liver is an important organ of excretion. In what way liver takes part in excretion, can you imagine? Some of you are right. Liver produces bile, and bile has bile pigments. In our earlier session on excretion, it was told to you what are the different excretory materials: urea, uric acid, ammonia and other materials like bile pigments. And bile pigments are produced by the liver and they are excretory materials. So, and moreover, liver is also involved in production of urea and uric acid. Yeah, liver is an important organ. आपल्याला वाटतं की किडनीचंच फक्त excretion function आहे. Kidneys, of course, they will separate the urea from the blood. But where is urea produced? Urea is produced in the liver. Uric acid is also produced in the liver. Those which are uricotelic animals. There the cycle, the chemical cycle of uric acid production will take place in the liver. So urea, uric acid production is in the liver. त्यामुळे excretion म्हणजे काय? फक्त removal नाही. Production, transport and elimination. या सगळ्याला मिळून excretion म्हणायचं. So liver is excretory organ because excretory substances like uric acid and urea, they are produced in liver. Blood will transport it to the kidneys and kidneys will remove it. Lungs, that's very easy to understand. Lungs, you know, is carbonaceous. All the carbon dioxide is given out. So yeah, these are all helping. So when you say excretory organization of the vertebrates, it is skin, liver, lungs side by side, kidneys the main thing. About skin, I can say a few more points when we go for the pictures on the screen. So let's have some pictures on the screen, and they will clarify some of your doubts and probably produce more doubts also, because science is something it's all about questioning and questioning and questioning. Answers may or may not be available. That's how science works. Let's have a picture of the. I think it's about the planaria. I think we'll have first the planaria. Yeah, platyhelminthes. This is a planaria. What are those flatworms? Planaria, liver fluke, tapeworm. I'm reminding you. Planaria, liver fluke, tapeworm. These are all flatworms, and flatworms have what are called as flame cells. It was already told you, and I had drawn a diagram on the board about the flame cells in the earlier session. So these flame cells, there are so many flame cells, small flame cells scattered in the body, thousands and thousands. Each flame cell, the excretory material starts traveling, and then all those tubes, they get connected, and ultimately through the excretory pore, the material is given out. I don't think you need all those full details. Next, yes, Malpighian tubules. We have learned the digestive system of the cockroach earlier also, and it was told to you that attached here between the midgut and hindgut, attached here between midgut and hindgut, there are more than 100 very fine tubules. Maybe that sometime later on, I don't know when, but when it depends on the cockroaches when they are available. At lockdown, the cockroaches but nahi. Anyway, cockroaches when they will be available, that time we may dissect a cockroach for you and show you that these are Malpighian tubules. So these Malpighian tubules, they remove excretory matter. They are floating. There's a kind of a open blood vascular system, and so in the liquid the Malpighian tubules are floating, and they collect uric acid components in the form of potassium urate, and then though that uric acid component will be taken inside the tubes, and then uric acid will be separated, and then uric acid will enter into the digestive tube, and then from there it will go out with the fecal matter. So uric acid gets mixed with the undigested food. These tubes are closed at one end. Each one of these tubes is closed at this end, and they open only to the digestive tube. Insects constitute the largest group of animals, and so you can say 70% of all the animals in the world, they have excretory structures, Malpighian tubules. Let's go ahead. I think earthworm, cockroach and frog, these are the three animals suggested in your syllabus for some superficial studies. So we have seen the excretory system of the cockroach just now, and now this is the excretory system of the frog. I think this picture was earlier also shown. Now you can just have a look at a kind of revision. Kidneys of the lower vertebrates like fishes and frogs are long, and they produce urine. They have nephrons. Number of nephrons in these kidneys is much lesser. Those nephrons will produce urine, and the urine will be collected. Urine will be traveling through the ureters, and it will come into the cloaca. You remember in the earlier session I told you that cloaca is a chamber which is common for digestive tube, because rectum is joining here. For excretory system, ureters are joining here, and also for reproductive system. Interesting. Look at these two structures. They are testes, and the testes are attached to the top of the kidneys. And what do testes do? Testes produce sperms, and sperms produced from the testes, they enter into kidney, and they pass through kidneys, and then they will pass through ureters and will come here. Oh, you feel very odd, right? How can sperms pass through kidneys? That cannot happen in mammals, that cannot happen in humans, but in amphibia, in frogs, that happens. So these are the ureters, and sometimes they are better called as urinogenital duct, because what is passing through the ureter is sometimes urine and rarely sperms also. So the tube is same, so it is called as urinogenital duct. Cloaca is a very important concept. Fishes, amphibia, reptiles, and birds have cloaca, which is a common chamber. So it is a common chamber for digestive system, excretory system, reproductive system, and through the cloaca the material will pass out. What is going to pass out through cloaca? Fecal matter, urine, and reproductive structures, sperms when required. Urinary bladder is attached to the cloaca, so urine may not be always directly passing out. It may come up here in the cloaca, from cloaca it may go into the bladder, from bladder it can return back to cloaca, and then whenever required it can pass out. Well, very interesting thing about the urine of amphibia, the frog, is that it is quite dilute. Our urine is slightly concentrated. Camel urine is very much concentrated. Why? Because camel doesn't want to waste water, because it's a desert animal. Frogs have plenty of water, and water is otherwise also entering into their bodies, and therefore they want to get rid of water, and so their urine is dilute. I want to make a point here. The adaptations of the animals are accordingly changed. A camel, which is also ureotelic animal, will have concentrated urine because the water should not be wasted from the body. Frogs have dilute urine. Frog is also ureotelic, but urine is dilute because there is plenty of water. And in our case, well, we will have medium type. We want to conserve water, no doubt, but some water we can give out, so our urine is also concentrated. So as compared to frog urine, human urine is concentrated, and as compared to human urine, camel urine is many times more concentrated. That's the point that I wanted to say. This is a arrangement which is for ureotelism, and some of you may be interested to know what are these things. Fat bodies, this is nothing to do with excretory system. These fat bodies are actually having oily tissue, adipose tissue, and there is no particular reason why they are attached here. It is simply because the food that is available in animals like frog is only seasonal. Ultimately frogs will consume insects and all, and the insects will be available in the rainy season. They eat a lot, and all that extra food they store in the form of fat, lipid, adipose tissue, and these are the fat bodies. They are by chance present on the top of the kidneys. They have no role in excretion. Let's go ahead. Now we start understanding those three modes of excretion. In the earlier session, it was told to you there is ammonotelism, where ammonia is excretory product. Then there is ureotelism, where urea is excretory product, and there is uricotelism, where uric acid is an excretory product, and there is guanotelism also. Remember, if you have already recorded, I hope you are writing things in the notebook. I am little worried. Yes, I am little worried. Are you serious? Are you sincere? Are you recording things in the notebook? का नुसतंच ऐकायचं आहे म्हणून ऐकताय. तसं नाही करून उपयोग. फाउंडेशन कोर्सचा फायदा होणार नाही. रायटिंग करा. परत परत ऐका, परत परत लिहा. सगळं लेक्चर लिहा असं मी म्हणत नाही, पण तुमच्या जो नोट्स तुमच्या तयार झाल्या पाहिजे, ती सवय लागली पाहिजे, नाही तर कसं होईल. अजून तर आपला फाउंडेशन कोर्सचा 1/4 पण फाउंडेशन कोर्स झाला, अजून 3/4 व्हायचा आहे. भरपूर लिखाण झालं पाहिजे. बिझी राहा. Biology is a subjective science and you have to record things. That's very important. Ammoniotelic animals, excretory product is ammonia, and I think you remember that ammonia is very toxic and it must be removed with plenty of water. The bony fishes and the tadpoles of the frogs, these are also fishes, whether they are freshwater or whether they are marine. It's okay. They are all ureotelic. And the tadpoles of the frog are also ureotelic. Interesting is here. So, ureotelism, the ammonotelism, I'm sorry, it's not ureotelism, it is ammonotelism. Ammonia, plenty of water is available. So, freshwater fish or the marine water fish or the tadpoles of the frog, they give out ammonia. This is ammonotelism. Plenty of water is available. Interesting things about the tadpoles. You know, these tadpoles in the beginning they are ammonotelic. Later on, when they become frogs, they change their mode of excretion. From ammonotelism, they shift to ureotelism. That's interesting. We'll go ahead. Interesting, is it not? This represents mammals, our own group. And this is amphibia. And this is cartilaginous fish. All these represent ureotelic animals. Urea is also toxic, but it is not as toxic as ammonia. And therefore, its excretion, its removal requires water, but little less water is okay. Amphibia, mammals, and cartilaginous fish, they are ureotelic. In the earlier picture, you have seen the fish, but those fishes were bony fishes. So, which are the fishes that are ammonotelic? Can we go back to the slide, earlier slide? Yes, these are the bony fishes. And bony fishes, whether they are in freshwater or marine water, they are ammonotelic. Now let's go ahead. And these are the fishes which are cartilaginous fishes. You know there are two types of fishes, bony fishes and cartilaginous fishes. And cartilaginous fishes like sharks are ureotelic. There are reasons for this, and the reason is something about osmoregulation. I think there is no need to go into those details. You should remember mammals, amphibians and cartilaginous fishes, they give out urea, so they are ureotelic. Next. This is something known to you. Who are the animals which give out uric acid? All insects. This is all insect world. And the birds. In fact, along with that, there are reptiles also. So, reptiles, birds, and insects. Reptiles are not shown here. But insects, birds, and reptiles, they are all uric acid, uricotelic. Particularly insects and birds, they are flying animals. And flight is something, the lesser the weight, the better it is. And that's how they don't carry much water in their body, because if they want to become ammonotelic, too much of water they will require, which is not possible for them. They are not ureotelic, because for ureotelism also more water will be required comparatively. So they are uricotelic. Uricotelic is uric acid removal requires least water. That's about uricotelic animals. Then you have the guanotelism. You know, the scorpions and the spiders, the excretory product is guanine. Urea, uric acid, guanine, they are all nitrogen based. And you know, it is nitrogenous excretion that is going on. These are guanotelic animals. I think we have very few slides left now. I don't think this is immediately required, but you know the two kidneys, then the dorsal aorta supplying renal arteries, and renal veins joined together to form inferior vena cava. The urine that is formed is collected by ureters. Ureters join bladder. From bladder there is urethra. One interesting thing, adrenal gland. At the top of the kidney, they always show adrenal gland. And there is a confusion about this. Are adrenal glands part of the excretory system? The answer is no. Then why they are there? त्यांना दुसरी काही जागा नव्हती म्हणून किडनी म्हणले की चला आमच्या डोक्यावर बसा. Some fun. Actually, there is no particular reason. It seems that adrenal glands are on the top of the kidney, but they are not a part of the excretory system. We are going to consider adrenal gland in the next session when we are going to talk about the endocrine system. They produce hormones, but they are not related to the kidneys directly. Next. Oh my God, this is great. This is a nice opportunity. This is a picture which has been taken from the great book of Tortora. And here you can see the kidneys. You can see now the two kidneys in position, actual original picture of the kidneys in the body. And this is how the blood vessels are there. And the ureters, as you can see very clearly. Next one. Oh, I think this we have talked about. You know, cortex and medulla. Medulla has pyramids. Renal artery enters and renal vein comes out. I think we can go ahead. Oh, this is something great. You can see here the cortex and this is the medulla. The medulla is appearing faint here and cortex is darker. If I magnify a part of the cortex, it will look like this. What are these things? You know, there is a glomerulus here. And around the glomerulus, what is this? Around each glomerulus there is Bowman's capsule. And glomerulus and Bowman's capsule together will make what? The glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule together will make what? Malpighian body. So the cortex are all Malpighian bodies. Earlier we have studied that the Malpighian bodies, the PCT and the DCTs, they are all present in the cortex. And medulla will have long tubes. These are long tubes. So this is cortex and this is a part of the medulla. Where you can get the you will find the connecting ducts and the lobes of Henle and so on. This picture is again magnification of this is here. I think it's all the same. These are actual. This is histology. I just want to remind you of the word histology. You may say this is anatomy and then more details of the anatomy is histology. We have great books of histology in our library and they are always available in many libraries and medical and colleges and zoology departments. The histology is all this microscopic structure of the organs. Okay. Can we have the next slide? I don't think any explanation is required. Just look at this. Carefully record. This is cortex. This is medulla. You can see the PCT, the DCT there, the Malpighian body, Malpighian corpuscle, the loop of Henle and so on. Next. Oh, same thing I think we have learned in next one. Oh, see the blood capillary network. See, filtration will take place here. So the unit of ultrafiltration and the same blood capillary which is coming out of the glomerulus now will form lots and lots of capillarization around the nephron. You know that ultrafiltration will take place here and all throughout the nephron there will be selective reabsorption because a lot of material is to be taken back. And then here in this DCT portion there will be opposite thing, that is what is called as active secretion. So filtration, reabsorption and secretion. Next. I think you know this very well. It's the glomerular capillaries. 50-60 loops are there. Blood is entering from here and blood is coming out. And this blood vessel will then form capillary network around the entire nephron. This is a symbolic diagram of the Malpighian, the Bowman's capsule, and actually these two are very close by and fine filter units are produced. This is not glomerulus actually. The correct name of this picture should be Malpighian body. Why? Because this is glomerulus. Around the glomerulus there is Bowman's capsule and the two together should be Malpighian body. So the name of this picture should be Malpighian body or Malpighian corpuscle. Next. Skin. Fine. Yes, I said I would be commenting on the skin. But I think we have a better picture ahead. Oh, great. I'll say something about skin and then I'll talk about its excretory role. Skin is the largest organ of the body. So, if somebody asks you which is the largest organ of the body, always say skin. Skin. It's so much, it's more than 2 square meters. And no other organ can be compared with the skin. It's an organ by itself. It has got epidermis, which is thin, with a few layers of cells, and there is a dermis. Have you heard of epithelial tissue? We are going to learn all those tissues. This epidermis is made up of epithelial tissue, and dermis, which is lower side, it's made up of connective tissue. And there is some fat also below this. The hair is peculiar. This is a mammalian skin, so the hair is being shown here. I think we've come to the sweat glands. Sweat glands are those which are again coiled. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Whenever things are long, they are coiled. Because of the coiling, they are placed in minimum space. Each sweat gland is surrounded by very fine capillaries. It is very similar to nephron. Just like kidneys are nephrons, and each nephron is surrounded by blood capillaries. Same thing here. Blood capillaries are not shown here, but each of the sweat gland is surrounded by blood capillaries, and the sweat is being formed, and sweat passes through the tubes and it comes onto the skin surface. These are all holes, sweat pores, through which the sweat will be distributed on the skin surface. And when the sweat evaporates, we feel cool. In the summer now we can feel cool because the sweat is evaporating. And for evaporation, the heat that is required is taken from the body, and so on. Composition of the sweat will be similar to urine. Then you may be finding this rather odd to hear that there are urea and other substances in the sweat, and so daily bath is a must. I mean to say, ultimately the sweat that spreads is also healthy. Let me tell you very frankly, the sweat that spreads is also healthy, but I think too much of sweat which is accumulated on the body will make the skin rather loaded with all these waste matter. So I think we have a habit and need to wash our bodies. There are oil glands known as sebaceous glands, and sebaceous glands are associated with the hair, and some oily material also comes out. The sebaceous glands also have excretory role. So in two ways skin helps in excretion and also osmoregulation. One way is the secretion of the sweat glands, and another is the secretion of the sebaceous gland. That's the role of the skin. There are many more details which can be done later on. Maybe that we have just one slide left. Okay, kidney stones. We always hear of these things. This is not a real picture, it's only symbolic. You know, these kidney stones, what are those? Actually, chemically they are phosphate stones or oxalate stones. Calcium oxalate, for example. See, ultimately so much of filtrate is being formed and the urine is being produced. It is possible that some people have a tendency because of which those materials which are flowing from blood to the filtrate and from filtrate back to the blood, in that process, it is possible that some people have a tendency to accumulate small quantities in the beginning, and there is a crystallization that occurs, and these are the stones. Where can be the stones? Stones can be in cortex, stones can be in medulla, stones can be in pelvis, stones can be in the ureter also. There are all various stones which have been removed by operation, and their sizes will differ. Some are millimeter length, sometimes they can be centimeter diameter also, centimeter length also, stones. And kidney stones, they become troublesome, and if they are particularly blocking the ureter, there may be urgency, then they have to be removed by operation. But there are excellent medicines in homeopathy. Be sure, there are excellent medicines in homeopathy. Without the need of any operation or any other allopathic medicine, stones can be removed. Many people don't want to agree to this, but yes, there are lots of people who experience this. So all pathies are good. तुम्ही फक्त ॲलोपॅथीचा विचार करू नका. होमिओपॅथी, आयुर्वेद सगळंच महत्त्वाचं. All pathies are good. आणि पॅथीजपेक्षा पेशंट महत्वाचा असतो, हे लक्षात घ्या. तुम्ही डॉक्टर होणार आहात का? सो दीज आर द स्टोन्स. एक डेमॉन्स्ट्रेशन तुम्हाला जे आता याच्या बरोबरच पाठवलं जात आहे, प्रॅक्टिकल डेमॉन्स्ट्रेशन. त्याच्यामध्ये मात्र मोठाले स्टोन दाखवले, हे एवढे एवढे. ते काही किडनी स्टोन्स नाहीये. ते काय आहेत? लक्षपूर्वक काय काय त्याच्यामध्ये काय दिलं आहे? They are bladder stones. Those are big stones. They are not kidney stones, but they are bladder stones. I think are these the last slide or there is one more or two more? Okay. Ooh, this is hemodialysis. I'm sure you have heard of this. Hemodialysis. Sometimes if you know that the kidneys, if they do not function properly, then the person has to undergo artificial filtration of the blood, and there's a machine for it, and there are lots of things. Blood has to be, the veins, blood is collected from veins and returned back to the veins, and it's a medical procedure. It requires hospitalization, and for depending on the need, it can be for a few hours, maybe once in a week or twice in a week or once in 15 days depending on conditions, and blood is coming into the machine and then blood is returning back to that person. Many lives can be saved because of this kind of procedure, hemodialysis. I think we have one more picture of the hemodialysis. This is the thing. We can see the machinery here and the person's blood. The blood is coming out from one vein and then returning back. That's how things happen, and the blood gets filtered and life can be saved. But one thing, it is possible that dialysis has its own limitations. So sometimes the kidney transplant may be necessary, and in your books they mention about kidney transplant. What is a kidney transplant? You have chemical testing done between two people, and if the kidneys of one person X are okay for the Y, then X can be a donor and you can donate your kidney to Y. We have two kidneys. Interesting. Two kidneys, two eyes. Very interesting. 2 ears. It's okay to have only one kidney. So if you donate one kidney, the donor will be left only with one kidney. And the receiver kidneys have failed, so one kidney will be replaced. So each one of the donor and receiver will have then one kidney functioning, and kidney transplant operations are done. And this is quite a life-saving procedure. That is kidney transplant. Maybe we will now have, I think, really the last one, and that is about osmoregulation in fish. Let's go for that. Basically, I just want to tell you about this one word. I will remind you what is osmoregulation. Regulation of water and salt, that is minerals in the body. Now, kidneys are already doing it. Fish also will have kidney, and fish kidney can do it. Then why specially this is being mentioned? It is because fishes have their own problems. Kidneys of the fishes are doing osmoregulation, but there are some additional things which the nature has provided to them, because of which they can do their osmoregulation better. Let's have a picture about it. Yes, this is a freshwater fish, and this is a saltwater, that is a marine fish. Interesting, very interesting pictures. The freshwater fish, there is more minerals inside, because in the freshwater the amount of salts is less. Naturally, there is a tendency of osmosis. Have you heard of this word? What is osmosis? Osmosis is movement of the water. So there is a chance that water keeps on moving inside through their skin. The water keeps on moving inside. The problem of the freshwater fish is that if water keeps on entering into their bodies, they will swell and burst. So nature has provided them 2-3 tricks. What are the tricks? Understand. Firstly, they don't drink water. Or if they drink water, very small quantity they will drink. Why will they not drink? Because already water is entering into their bodies. Because even if the scales are there, some water can still enter. So they give out diluted. The small arrows, the blue small arrows will mean small quantities entering. and this big arrow means dilute urine. So because there is a continuous inflow of water into their bodies, they want to give out the extra water by making the urine dilute. But there is one more thing. They will also take in, see the red arrows, they will also take in what? Ions. Although there are less ions, they will take in the ions. Their gills have a speciality. There are special cells which are present in the gills which take in the ions because they want to maintain their ionic concentrations, and they can also give out the extra ions. So we are making a balance between the ions that are taken in and ions that are given out, and the water that is entering into the body and water that is taken out, they are able to maintain their concentration. See, this is all little difficult to understand from this picture, but you know, different animals, each animal has to do osmoregulation, and freshwater fish will be doing the osmoregulation this way. Then we come to the osmoregulation in the saltwater fish. Situation is exactly opposite. Here there is less salt in the water, and in the marine environment there is too much of salt. Now you can imagine there is more salt here, and in the body there is water, more water. So there is a tendency that the water starts coming out. Look at the arrows here. Here water is trying to enter inside because here is more concentrated material inside, more concentrated solution, and outside concentration is less. So from lower concentration to higher. Here outside marine water, a lot of salt, and this fish tries to lose water. If this continues to happen, too much of water will enter and the fish will burst and die. And in this case, too much of water will be lost and the fish will shrivel up and die. But the nature will not allow that to happen because there are interesting things. It drinks a lot of water. This does not drink water or drinks less water. And this drinks, the marine fish which is in salt water will drink lot of water. What is the purpose? Because water is continuously being lost, and so it will drink water. But the problem is when it will drink water, the water contains lot of salts. So the salts are given out. There is lot of salt excretion. Salt excretion here and here is different. Salt motility here is different. Here salts are entering. Here salts are coming out through the gills. This is very important. So salts are coming out of the gills. And here the red things is salt. Salts are also being removed. Here also salts are being removed through the urine. But here more salts are removed through the urine and less water is being removed. Compare this arrow. Here more water, less salts. Here more salt and less water. So these are the things. Details may not be necessary, but you should have developed an idea that osmoregulation can occur in different animals in different way. So in our case, I think in our case it is the skin and the kidneys which will do the osmoregulation, kidneys mainly. In the case of the fish, it will be skin, as you can see from here, the gills also, because gills also have special cells to remove the salts or get the salts, and also the kidneys will be there. So that is about the osmoregulation in the fishes. And I think with that we will say that we have completed the explanation of the excretory system in animals and the modes of excretion and the excretory system in humans. All this information is now with you. We have now provided to you the PDF form notes of excretory system. We also provided to you the discussion of the earlier session and this session, and we are also providing to you the demo practical. Okay,